Okay, so last time when I did a demo with the extruder, I showed you how to do that retro cane. That was that sort of multicolored square one. And then I showed you how you could take a big cane, fit it into your extruder, and depending on the circle size or square size, you can make them perfectly little canes come out the extruder. And that's what, let's see, which way do I move it? This way? No, this way. There. So that's what, like this swirl, you can get it this tiny with the little circle one. This was too big to fit in. This is when it came out my biggest thing that I have in my extruder, which I only used the ones that came with the basic extruder. I didn't go to the extra sets. And so then you can make all these sizes. And then this is one where the big size and then the reduced size out of that same thing. So that's what we did last time. I talked a little bit about the extruder, which I have more than one. This is the standard one that you see a lot in the stores, and the one that was made by a clay company called Makin is no longer being made. And I found that it was better quality than some of the cheaper ones, but I think we're stuck with the cheaper ones. There's a few places that have them, still some of the clay stores, but they charge a lot for them. And unfortunately, there were some they had a lot of extra discs that you could get. There's like, I think 3 sets of 10 extra discs, so like 30 or more discs that you could get to go with them. And I'm missing something. Oh, and then what they had that was really nice is, let's see if you can see that, is barely. There's a lag in the screen, sorry. It's this core tool, and it makes a hollow tube. So you can extrude a shape, whatever shape you want, that the core tool will fit in. You have the core tool, and then you put a disc on top, like say you wanted this disc. This would not work well. This is the teardrop. But anyways, it would extrude this.
It's not on the screen.
It's not.
Put it over there. Check it over here. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so it would extrude this, and there'd be a core, and they had different core sizes, I think from 1 millimeter up to 4 maybe or something. But anyways, they may still be around, and if you can get them, that would be great. If you wanted to, because this way, with a tube like this, when you bend it up like that, your hole maintains. And so if you wanted to have curved things, people will sometimes put these on the stringing cords so that these match, or you can cut them into beads and say cover them, use them as your core, and then cover them for long beads. But anyways, I saw, and I don't know who to credit for this, but I saw a hack for this. And you take your disc like this guy with the multi-holes and big, and you need something to raise it up. So because this core tool had a ring in there, so you need to be able to bring it up a little bit, and then I don't want you to use that one. I'll use. And then you can put this round on it. Well, the hack part is you take a nail with a flat head. This one came out of a picture frame set, but you can get these in different widths, and you put it in the center hole. So whatever you use to make your core, you use beneath it that lets the clay through. It has to have a center. Otherwise, you won't be centering your beads. And then I add, this is the little ring that is, you get an extra one when you do the extruder. You could use metal washers. You could stack up a bunch of your discs from the extruder, but they're so thin, I don't know how many it would take, that have bigger holes than what you want to end up with. Anything that will raise this up, and then you put this on top, and it works. So I was able to extrude this guy. This one's much bigger than the other one, but it worked just the same. You just have to make sure that when you're ready to extrude it, that you center this thing and make sure it's straight, the nail, because it wobbles around, whereas the other one wouldn't have wobbled, it stays put. I've also seen that some now of the people who are making all the 3D printed cutters, well, they've started to make some discs for extrusion, and they also made some core tools. I don't know about the discs. I've had some acrylic discs that you put so much pressure on these. I've bent metal ones when you're putting the pressure on. If they're cheap, I've also broke one that was acrylic because of the pressure. So I don't know how strong those 3D printed ones are. The ones I've seen have been with the resin. I know there's another material they use too, but these are the ones that make the real sharp cutters. So the resin cutters. So they've used those to get their core tools. So I don't know. They look just like the Makin's one, but they're 3D printed, and they come with different core widths. So I don't know if they'll work or not, if they'll take it or not, because most of the pressure goes on the bottom disc that has all the holes. That's where the clay's coming through and then coming back together and going out whatever you choose for your bead, whether it be a circle, a square, whatever you want. So anyways, that's what I have to say about that one. Who has it? Oh, Jackie just saw the core tool at Monroe.
But they want $22.
Oh, but they want $22. It used to
Just
be,
for the little core thingy?
well, you get three. You get three, and I think they're all the big size.
Yikes.
But yeah, so if you see them around, maybe you see them in an old
Yeah.
hobby store or something, it might be worth getting, or try the extruded one, or try the hack, because you can put different diameter nails in there and get,
An adapter.
well, that's the adapter, that little thing. So anyways, that's what I was going to say about that. I don't know anything about the Chinese ones that are flooding the markets of the extruders that are really cheap, but you might go through them kind of fast, but make sure your clay is soft before you try anything like that, because extruding hard clay is hard on your hands. It's really hard on your equipment. So if I'm using those, I'd be extra sure it's rather soft. But on the kind of good news side is I just got an Instagram message in my feed that Lucy Stronikova of Lucy Clay fame is back with Lucy Clay Tools. And she just said, I'm back, more info coming soon. So they may start producing the extruder again. So that's good news, because Lucy Clay Tools has a zillion different designs. And let me see, of discs. I have it. This sheet of paper lists all the different designs they have. And if you go to their lucyclaytools.com and you look under the extruders, they have something that gives you a pattern for like every disc they make, and zillions of patterns. Now, a lot of these patterns will work with the existing discs you may have. You may get ideas from it. But anyways, they give a zillion different patterns for all their discs and all different types. And I printed them all out, and I don't know, this is what, 2 inches? It's a 2-inch binder, I think.
Oh my God.
But it's got about an inch.
But I use page protector, so it makes it fatter. But anyways, it's a good source to get ideas for the ways to do it. It's not a good how-to if you're not good with your extruder or not, But anyways, it's a lot of fun. So I was going to talk today more about the types of things you can make, making other types of canes. And I was going to show some of the ones I've made before using extruders. And a lot of these I made because I've done some of Alice Stropel's tutorials where she does that cane mapping, and you're making all different canes and slicing them and putting little things. And these were different projects I made with her, doing stuff with her before. And so this one here is just a bunch of circles. And it was actually made with that burnt orange clay that turns yellow when you skin or blend it with white. So it makes it really, I find it really cool. And these, you can't see them as well, but there's some leaves that were just the slit cane, which is, that's not it. Let's see where to put him. Does he show up? This guy. And extruded it like a bullseye cane, and just extruded different colors and combinations and just put it together to make a feather. I did it smaller on a smaller size one and got a little feather. But the way you can shrink things down, these again, the same slit cane that with this extruder, you can make patterns like this. These bricks were one from a wider one that isn't actually in the set. The Lucy one had this cute little fish that you extrude, and then it had the little side panels that go with it that you put on either side. And I extruded the fish in yellow, skin or blend to white, and then the other one had a greenish teal kind of color with white bullseye cane extruded out of the thing that connects to them. And then I got these guys. And so you can put them together as a straight row. You could stagger them. You know, you could have them going every which way you wanted, going in the same direction, going in on. So there's a lot of things you could do just with that guy being a little fish. They also have a nice heart one. But these are ones that are made combining a triangle cane, and I think that inside was a pedal of some sort, and putting it with the flat cane. You see this smaller version of it. I stacked them together and done it. There's some weird shaped ones like this guy, which, is it gonna focus? I don't know if you can see if I move my hand. That just makes an interesting look in a long chain. More like how a diamond would work. And the way these are, if it's firm enough clay, you can stack them and just keep this going wider and link them up in a seamless pattern. These are more of just using triangle. Which way do I move? This way. Triangles. Here's the small. Here's before I reduced it, they were bigger size.
A bunch of room over here.
So I've also done things like putting a bunch of little tiny squares together. See if there's any other that are different that we're not going to talk about. So anyways, there's a whole bunch of possibilities depending on what your extruders are, whether you want a skin or blend, whether you want, a solid, or whatever way you want to do it. There's just a bunch of combinations that you can do. But for the demo today of making a cane, I was going to do one that there's an artist called Sandra Callender who now does a blog, and she has this nifty, she just happened to put this out right when I had volunteered to do these, so I thought it was perfect timing. Let's see if I can meet you guys. I think focuses. And I put a link that's going to be upside down.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose my page. So here you go. So anyway, she shows 4 different canes. this cute little flower cane, which I'm going to show you how to do because it's the most difficult of the ones. And then she has this floating circle cane, which I'll talk a little bit about. And this is one, just all different colors of triangles that she's put together. And then this is a dash cane, which I've made too, which I can show you in a bit. Oh, here it is. Let me show it now. And that's dash cane. Let's see if the other ones show up. What do I have? This is the sort of floating circle one. Give a hand out of the way. Which way do I move it? This way. No. There. The floating circle, the dash, and what was... Oh, and the flower. Those were the only ones I did. I didn't do this one. I did a polka dot one just to show that that can be done. And if you wanted, you could do with the polka dots. You could make them much smaller and just by taking whatever the core is, this whitish core. If I just wrapped it more with the yellow color and extruded it out, they would have been much more compact. The white dot would be much smaller, and you would have much more space between them to get the different looks. So just by varying the size when you load your extruder and when you and what you choose to extrude can vary the pattern quite a bit. Just another floating circle. I don't know if it shows up any better. Where I picked this. This looks distinctly orange to me in my block of stuff, but I swear I think it looks like hot dog now. So it's like, whoa, that wasn't supposed to happen. So anyways, I'm going to go through basically what you do to extrude this guy and get it to this. So I won't be doing a lot of extruding, but are there any questions so far? So junk things up and find the page I need.
She has extruder discs too,
Yeah.
doesn't she?
What?
Does she have extruder discs that she sells?
Oh, no.
She doesn't.
No, she
Okay.
doesn't. No, she just does tutorials. She does a lot of color palette stuff. She's actually a fun person to follow. And it just so happened that she was doing these at the same time. So for this particular cane, she uses this teardrop one that's in the main set and the square that's in the main set. I have this, and 11. I need 11? No. Okay, so what you start with, where are all my supplies? Oh dear. Okay. Hold on a bit. As I get organized, I put the first thing on the bottom. So I'm not going to do much extruding because can be kind of squeaky, noisy, and hard, especially when the clay has been sitting for a while and it's not warm. But what you start doing is you take and you form a core. Which I add a sample of. That's one point of what it looked like. But basically, oh, here it is. Hold on. It's between two, oh, there. So this is how it starts out. You start with a core that's about, I think about a half. She gives dimensions as if you took it right off the thing or were mixing her colors, but it's about a 3/4 inch snake or log, and it's about 2 inches long, which is what she tells you in the thing. And if you make it the way she says with those amounts, you get a full extruder's worth of stuff, and you get your flour. And I can't promise you'll end up with this much, but I ended up with that much. Can you see that? No, I'm off screen. That much of these nice red. Aren't they on?
There's a delay.
There's a real delay on our end. I don't know what you're seeing, but. So anyways, you get quite a bit. And she uses it to make a veneer, and then she covered a box. And I thought that'd be a fun thing to do for Clay Day. If people wanted to, they would have to get their canes made ahead of time, because you want them to rest when you slice them. But I'd bring my slicer, and I could show you how to make a veneer. But if you just want to come and practice making the other types of canes, that's fine too. And I can spend time with people doing that. But so to start with, we're taking this log, we're taking a thick piece of clay and wrapping it around once, and then we reduce that so it fits into the extruder. We extrude it out with this guy, the teardrop one, and you end up with an individual guys like this. And you have to, one of the important things is when you extrude these individual pieces out, there's a lot of waste on the back end, because the clay moves at different speeds. So even though you may have wrapped it evenly, the center stuff moves faster than the sides. So the purpley blue here, there'll be more of it at the end than there is at the beginning. So when you go to slice it off, I think I had like some 36 inches of extrusion, and 7 or 8 inches of it were waste on the back end, where I didn't get the full pattern to use to set my flowers up. And then on the front end, usually that's just a little bit. And what she'll do is take this piece, flip it in her extruder, and then she will put a solid piece in front. And what I do for that, she cuts out a disc. I take the end of my extruder, and you can see that hole right there in this piece. Well, I take my extruder, and probably it'll be a blur, and just set it down like that. And then you get the perfect cap. So you're doing that at the very end when you got it all loaded. And this usually stays in because I do it harder. And you get this nice disc to put on top. And what that does is the one you put in first is going to start moving slower on the sides. And it's ensuring that the sides stay bluer. I don't think it's necessary for the type of cane she's making, but I did it anyways. So I did follow that rule. So after we've extruded these, we cut off the waste, and then we measure how much we have and divide that by 6, so that you get long pieces like these guys that are all the same length. And then we put them together to shape the flower. So I put together 3 of them and already. And the important part on these is to be as accurate as you can and line up the points as close as you can. So here they're a little bit off. Well, your petals will look a little bit wonky if you get that too far off. So you're just adjusting it and trying to push them so that they match up. Shouldn't move all this stuff. So anyways, these guys are loose. So what I do is I just take them. Okay, it is in focus. That's nice of it. And you're lining it up along the whole edge, making sure that it lines up.
You mean where they join?
Where the
To be
point,
a straight line? Is that what you're saying?
well, you want the points lined up so that they're tip to tip. The cane that,
The tear cane.
the teardrop. So you're taking the narrowest part of the teardrop, or point of the teardrop,
Gotcha.
and you're putting them together so that they form, you know, a radial pattern with those lined up, and you basically just have the lineup of the points. You're lining up the points, trying to keep them close together. And it's easier for me to line them up in three, maybe use the table a bit, check both sides like you're always supposed to do with regular caning, and then you put the two together. And again, it's important that you line them up nicely so that they come together and form, not so uneven, so that they form this nice flower. And the better you are at lining them up, and again, check both sides because it's very easy to get them off, and you can kind of open it up like this and follow your line down to get it. And if I have these uneven ends, I cut them off when I go to the next step just because it's hard to see. So then we have this nice little flower like this guy. Can you see him? And you can see that there are little divots around it. So we have to fill in those little divots, because if we went to extrude this, these holes would get filled in. So they're going to fill in. The easiest way is to smush this white stuff around, and you'd get a solid circle like a pie, you know, where these ends would be squared off more, and they'd be flattened out looking, so it wouldn't have that nice rounded flower petal shape. So what you do is you take your guy and you make little tiny triangles to fit into the pieces. Now this one has, I've done two, and I'll just please show. Let's see, this looks like a good spot. So you're just basically rolling this out a snake, and then you're going to make them into little triangles. And the way you do that is you pinch your fingers together, thumb and forefinger, and then you push. You can't see because my big hands, but you're putting them on the tip and then pushing down on the table. And so this forms one of the points of the triangle, and the other 2 points are formed with the force of the table. And you're just going to go through and make a bunch of this, and take your guy who rolled away, and you're going to line them up so you've got a point going down in there, and then pull it across, and then you can just break it off. And you can stretch them while you're going, so that a lot of times they look a little big, but you can kind of pull them out so that they stretch along as you go.
With your hand just a little bit. There you go.
There. So you pull them along as you go, and then you fill all these guys in. But I think you get the picture with that. So I've got a guy somewhere that is filled in. Where is he?
Got him lying down on the side.
No. Actually, he is. So you fill this guy in, and then you wrap it again with this clay. So you just take this and just roll it up. And actually, I do have that. I did want to finish that. So where is my guy? Let me go ahead and quickly finish up this, because there's one thing that you have to make sure when you're rolling these. And again, the warmer the clay, the softer the clay, the better it's going to extrude. So I'm not sure how my finished guy will work, just because it's been sitting part of the day. So I've got all these little guys now are filled, and you just roll it to round it out a bit. And then you're gonna cover it again with a thick sheet of the same outside color of polymer clay. And this is really on the thickest setting. So to roll up something this small on the thickest setting, it's easy to trap air. And you just roll it around and, look for the mark like you do with any other. And can I see it in this light? Maybe. No blade. Excuse me.
Here, I can do my phone.
Blade. I need my blade. I don't rehearse this enough in person. I just think about what I'm going to do. Okay. I think that's it. But anyways, you're just cutting it. But when you're bringing it together, what's important on all of the ways you make these types of canes, rat canes in general, is that you make sure that that bottom at the base here, you make sure that's connected. Because if that isn't connected and it's kind of splayed out open, the inner part of that you're wrapping will, as it gets compressed, will squeeze up in there and you'll have this little pointy divot in there that will destroy the look of your cane right at that point. And it'll drive you crazy, even though no one else may even notice it. It will drive you crazy. So anyways, you get your cane wrapped. The other thing that's important when you do these is that you make sure you're getting the air out. So I usually start in the center and sort of compress around the cane, because this does have to be made a bit smaller to go through the extruder. And that's what this plug was, one that's reduced down enough to go into the extruder. And it's at this point, you load the guy into the extruder.
This way again.
Well, I'm not doing that off camera. Where's my square? Do you see him? The other thing I will warn you about is these little discs. They can get stuck in your clay and end up going through your pasta machine. You can sometimes forget to put them in here before you extrude. So you got to be a little bit mindful of what you do. But the magic happens with the flour. Well, I should put this plug in too, if I follow Sandra's. So there's a plug in there, which you can now see on top of those others. And I have to do the extruding off camera just because I can't turn. I don't have that kind of strength. And a tip for doing the extruding by hand, last time you talked about putting drills on them, but by doing it by hand, you can wear a plasticky type glove that helps grip, or get that gripper stuff that you put under carpet things and wrap your tube in that and hold on to it. And it'll make it easier to grip your clay. So my extruder's not being too bad. Sometimes they squeak horribly and you can use like a silicone gel type stuff, wax that they put on. They say not to use oil or Vaseline. I believe them just because I think it makes it gunky. But so this is, I just had a small piece, so I got this much out of it. This is the front end, and there's my flower's pretty good out of that end, good enough to use. It's a little squared off there, but at this end you'll see that I'll be taking quite a bit off. You can just barely see the white there. And here you're seeing a little tiny bit. You're not even getting all the petals. Here it's a little bit more. That's some of it. What's really cool is as you're going, sometimes you'll get, as we're going through that, a swirly bit like this. And I think this looks really cool by itself. It is not consistent, but you can take and save those little pieces. It might work out on something else you're doing. So look at what you cut off. You don't know really how much you get because that was on the other side, and it's not a very big piece. But this is pretty good now, but we ended up cutting a good lot of that off. So you do lose quite a bit when you do this. And it's at this point that you would measure for your 6, or however many pieces you want. This one I made 3 by 3 because I didn't have as much. This red one, when I did it, and I had used all the measurements that Sandra gave, made a 4 by 4. And most of them were pretty good. There are some that are kind of junky that you might want to pass on. But then you're just cutting these into however long you want them. You would measure, of course. So for here, I could do them, did I get 3? So I would just line the squares up and sort of push them together, and they're going to stick to each other. And then I can line the other ones directly on top of that, and then they line up the way they have been in that finished cane. Or, this isn't a good one. Or if I wanted to, I could offset them. And the best way to offset them is to start in the middle, and then you would lay one of these down halfway between, or halfway over a seam, and then then you would cut your next one in half and put half on this side, half on that side, on this side, and then as you went along, you would get a staggered pattern. That's what I did with the circles. I staggered. And it just gives a different look. I kind of like the flowers lined up, so for both of them, I did them that way. But you just have to make sure that you're following the line all the way down so that you get your pattern repeated throughout your cane. So any questions on it? It's pretty phenomenal. I just think it's amazing, and that's what makes it so much fun to use the extruder. And the other patterns, I was just going to go through in case somebody wants to do them. Let me see which one I have here on this side. So for the one that's the floating ring, she gives some weird measurements, but I just figure all you need to do is have a 3/4 inch log, and you make it, she made it 1 1/4 inches long to put in, and she wrapped it once. So it basically looks like, which one is mine? I didn't bring it, a piece of paper. So it basically looks like this. She's got hers 3/4 inch. She's got a thickest setting of another color, and then the thickest setting of an outer one. And she's using this disc. Can you see that disc? No. Right up above the blue flowers. That's the disc. It's a narrow one. And when you extrude it, it comes out where it's squishing everything in, so it's making that white ring that you had in there in the cane. It's making it oval, and you get this pattern.
It's not on the screen.
It's not on the screen. Sorry.
Yeah.
This pattern. And one of the cool things where she had it sliced is if you see, if you slice it here and here, you kind of get this cool, like the full ring going up the center and half rings coming off the side. And then she just butted up another color next to it in her veneer, and it really gave a cool look. These can be matched up, but matching these perfectly on the edges where they're side by side, it's going to be, it'll probably show. So depending on what your veneer is, how long you make it, how wide your slicer is that you can slice, would determine, how big to make those. So I ended up doing mine longer, I think, than she did. But, you can see, they're kind of fun.
Nice job, Sandy. Very fun.
Thank you. The other one I was going to show is this dash one that she did, which is not going to stand up, of course. There. I'm not going to show how to do it, but just talk a bit about it. Is she used she used the smaller one, which could have come out with me and got lost. Oh dear. They kind of stick to your arm, Jack is trying to help here. Do you see him anyway? No.
Is it a shorter version of
Yeah, it's the short square version.
Yeah, is that it?
No, that's a
That
quick one.
Under here?
Is there a cane? Oh yeah, Jackie found it. It's this short fat guy. And
Not a green.
it's not on the screen. Sorry.
Put it by the yellow. Put it by the yellow dots.
By these?
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. There you go.
But it's actually that guy. And you start out with, I don't know what size she says. This is what, 1/4 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch, something like that. You start out with a log that's thinner, and then you wrap it twice with the thick cane, and then squish it down and put it in your extruder. Extrude it with this disc, and you get these little guys that you slice up. They come out as a flat ribbon, and you slice those up. You make sure you get your waist off, and then divide them in however long or stack you want them, depending on how much you get. Might just make that your decision, because you don't necessarily have to stack them up 4 high. If you didn't get very many, you could do 2 and just slice them and stack them one next to each other in a veneer. So actually how many you get is not always that important. I like the bigger ones if I'm matching a long pattern and won't have to hook it together. And again, I took these and I offset them. They're not lined up one on top of the other. They're offset. Where this row, the dashes are thin, very thin. And that second row, this is the second row, this is the third row, this is the fourth row. So you can see how thin they come out, that you're doing your cane. So how you want to do them, if you put them together, it probably would mess with your eyes a bit. But
I like it.
but it might be the look you want. I don't know. But anyways, contrast, of course, color contrast is important in these just as much as it is in regular caning. If you did a pattern like this one and they were too close in color, it might not work. But then again, if you did a very slight one, it might look really cool if you use this in part of a leaf cane. And it might be the center parts, the center of a leaf cane, and you've got more wrapped around it to make a look. And that would look really cool inside the center of a leaf. Or even if you were doing a flower petal, maybe the center of a flower petal, and you could shape it differently. So there's a lot of different variety that you can do with these. These are some I took, are they on? Oh, and so the longer one, that was using this long thin one, I put those 4 on the top, and then the little fat guys for this, I put sideways. So they're actually 2 different size ones. I just ran them through the same thing to get a different look. And you could have done the same to get that. I think I had an example earlier where you're just stacking different ones that you've extruded. This is a Skinner blend with there might be even a shorter fat one, I don't know, in the other set, but it's a Skinner blend wrapped with black. and then extrude it out with probably that disc and just put together. The black stays with it, the Skinner blend shows. So it's really kind of a fun thing you can do to get subtle little tiny things that would be really hard to do by hand. You know, it's doable to make, these are extremely simple cane, but to get it this small and regular, it would be hard to do by hand. So any questions on that? That's
Cool. That's good, yeah.
That's it. And again, I hope to get more, some of the people doing the 3D printing are making discs too, that you can extrude with. I have no idea. I would probably use my cane. I would probably let them, the clay be extra soft. Not super, super soft where it'd stretch when you extrude it, but softer than I normally would, just because I'd be afraid it would break. But I don't know, maybe they could tell you more about that if you ask them about it, if you wanted to get different ones besides the standard one that comes with the set. There's 20 in the set, but there's so many cool things you can do. Like Jennifer Patterson, one of the sets she sells has every triangled angle you can think that you can make patchwork quilts with. And that's what she's called Quilted in Clay. That's another name she goes under. And she's made a business going to quilt shows and selling earrings with clay, with quilt patterns on them, you know, and had a fabulous business doing that. And she sells discs that are extremely good quality. And she has all different size squares, all different size circles, and then she has all the different triangles in different sizes too, so that you can put them together if you were interested in doing quilting type patterns. But it is kind of fun, and hopefully the Lucy people will come back, but you're still talking about investing in something that will cost $100, you know, or something. And then the whole pile of different discs that come with it, they'll probably cut those down, I would guess. Just, it's more money. You can make a lot more money if you're not having such a huge inventory of different things, but I don't know what they'll do. I don't know how big the market is. Okay.
I've seen where they do like a round cutter, and they do it in different colors, and they stack them alternately.
Oh yes, that we did.
We just wondered if you can grab that too, like that, and extrude it.
Yes, that's what we did the last time. We did it where you take the different colors and you extrude it, and you get a ring and a ring and a ring of different colors, and then you put them together and make a little square like Valerie's wearing. And so you can do it that way. There's also a whole nother thing with extrusions where they will take a shape, usually round, and they will get harmonious colors, or they can use a solid color, but they'll do harmonious colors, so it'll come out sort of in a nice rainbow. The outside skin will look rainbow. And you just get this big long string, and then you roll them up in circles, and you do these different interlacing circle patterns and cover something like that. But I don't have time to go into all that, so I kept it short. We can maybe do that another time. Another class.
Thanks.
That's me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a lot of
A
stuff.
lot of insights.
Well, this will make 4 different canes that I went through,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah. 3. You're gonna have to show me all over again.
So we'll get the
Those handouts, okay.
handouts.
Okay.